help guide you with these steps to grasp your confidence and own your power. I love that.
Look around the room. You'll see that you're not so alone after all, and that unconfidence could look like any of us. Maybe your whole life you have been told that the best wins, but I'm telling you right now that the best known will win. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grasp Confidence Podcast. I'm your host, Tara LaFawn Gooch, and this is going to be an exciting show. We're going to deliver a lot of value for anyone who's in business, which is most of us, I think, right? Maybe all of us. We're in business, whether we're an executive leader at our companies, whether we're an entrepreneur doing our own thing. Maybe we are an entrepreneur and a speaker. Maybe we're an author. Maybe we are doing an investor presentation and making a really big life-changing pitch that could ultimately change the trajectory of our lives and careers and future. We've all been in this scenario or will be one day. So I thought it would be really key to bring on my friend and coach, because he helped me before my TEDx talk, Claudio. Claudio, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself.
Tara, thank you for having me. First of all, it's a real honor and pleasure to be here. And I'm not a fan of long introductions, so the short end is I am a presentation coach. I help people prepare for their high impact speaking opportunities. You know, those things that really count, like investor pitches, TED and TEDx talks, keynotes, and even Shark Tank and other media appearances.
One day I'll be on Shark Tank, not today, but one day, right? But we're all going to be faced with this at some point in time in our careers, these, as you say, high impact presentations, the type of situation where the cards are all on the table and it's up to us to convince an audience maybe to do business with us, to invest in us, to contribute to our success in some kind of way, right? To do business. And it's not easy. And I think, Claudio, and let me know what your thoughts are. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they get started in business. Maybe they're really talented. They have a lot of experience. They've got degrees, they've got certifications, they've got boots on the ground experience. They know their craft. But a lot of times it's the communication of that message that kind of goes over the heads of the audience that they're trying to convey these important things to. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it is a question of confidence, to have really enough belief in yourself that the idea that you're presenting is a good idea and that it will resonate with others, right? So confidence plays a huge role, and you are the queen of confidence, right? And I believe that once you reach that level where you're comfortable in your skin, when you are going out, you're talking, and this is not just in high impact situations or high stakes presentations. Some people, they really struggle in front of people in public speaking situations, even if there isn't all that much on the line. And I believe there are some remedies how we can become more confident in these kind of speaking situations.
This is the keys to the kingdom, everybody. Honestly, this could really make or break a business, your reputation, how much money you make. I like to reference this quote a lot because I think this information needs to be put out. According to the Carnegie Institute of Technology, 85% of our financial success is due to our interpersonal skills, our ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. Shockingly, 15% of our financial success is actually due to technical knowledge. But We spend a lot of time on technical knowledge and not a lot of time on things that really move the needle for us in our careers and lives. Communication is right up there. It's number one. So it's really important to communicate effectively, but especially when the stakes are high. The question is, Claudio, how do we get there?
The easiest way is, of course, to do it and do it over and over and over again, right? You are most likely familiar with how we learn anything, how we get proficient at anything, right? And it starts with originally we are unconsciously incompetent, right? You know, this progression from unconsciously incompetent all the way to unconsciously competent, right? And so if you are taking, for example, learning how to drive a car, which most of us probably have done at one point, you started out being unconsciously incompetent, meaning you didn't even know that there is a skill involved with driving a car, right? Yeah. When you were 5 years old, you were just sitting in the back seat of your dad's or your mom's car, and well, that's your transportation. But then at one point, you start to pay attention. You start to pay attention and you start to see, oh, they're doing something with their hands and they're doing something with their feet and they're shifting the gears, and you start to become curious. And that's the moment when you start to realize, okay, there is some kind of a skill, and you move into the consciously incompetent phase. Now you know that you don't know, right? And the next level is to take some driving lessons. Maybe a sibling of yours helps you and you get the first couple of miles under your belt. And you're moving into that phase that we call the conscious competence phase. Now, all of a sudden, you know how to do it, but you still need to think when you're driving. Where is the turn signal? What do I do with that clutch? Do I press it before I shift the gears or after? And there is still some thought involved. And then you're driving hundreds of miles, maybe 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles. And all of a sudden, driving that car becomes second nature. You're just doing it. You have become unconsciously competent. You don't think about it anymore, right? And if you now go back to that time when you learned how to drive a car, in the beginning, you weren't that confident behind that wheel anymore. But of course, after many, many hundreds of miles or kilometers, you become confident. And today, it's not even a question. And this is the case with every skill, right? And sometimes the expectation is, well, now I took a class in public speaking and I expect to be confident now. But that's not necessarily the case, right? What really, really gets you the confidence is to go out and do it and get that mileage under your belt.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't agree more. And that's why I'm so passionate about action, right? I get asked this question all the time by speakers, by entrepreneurs. How do I get more confidence to speak? Because, well, it's everything. It's huge, right? And you're exactly right. You have to put in the reps. No one got more in shape by watching someone else work out. I wish it was that way, but it's not quite that way, right? We don't get in shape by watching somebody else go running or swimming. We have to put in the reps in order to get better. Speaking is no different. And podcasting, that's why this is such a powerful medium. It's especially great to, have podcasting in between, speaking engagements so that your tools are refined, so that your tools are sharp. I think that's pretty important because we need to refine this craft every single day and act like it's something that we're trying to refine every day. Like, put intentionality behind it as well, right? Like, make a purpose to get better at this. Because if we don't, nobody's gonna, help us along the way, we need to put in this reps, right?
Indeed, indeed. And the opportunities to practice your craft, they're everywhere. There are organizations that you can join that help you. For example, Toastmasters is one of these organizations. This year, they are celebrating their 100th anniversary. And it all started out in 1924 when Ralph Smedley, the founder of Toastmasters, thought, young people, they need to start to embrace public speaking and they need to become more confident communicators. And he started to put together a program that has survived for 100 years and has created many, many leaders and proficient public speakers, right? So that is one way that you could do it. Another way is to just seek out in your community. There are Rotary clubs and Lion clubs and whatever it is. And they're always looking for speakers. Take those opportunities, contact them, get in touch with them and say, hey, are you looking for a speaker? I have this message that I want to share with your group. And that's one of the ways that you can get that mileage under your belt in a not as high stakes environment as if you are just practicing in front of your mirror and then you are stepping out onto that TED or TEDx stage or stand in front of investors and try to give your best.
Exactly. And it's so important to work with a professional. I'm really passionate about this, and I encourage anybody listening to the show to work with Claudio. And I say that because he helped me, right? And it was really powerful. So you and I we met on LinkedIn, we met through a friend, and at the time I was practicing for my TEDx talk. And I really wanted somebody I felt like I was the racehorse almost at the finish line, but I needed somebody to push me over the finish line. And I could not get to that last percent by myself. I just could not, right? And it's okay. Like nobody expects you to, right? Don't put so much pressure on yourself, by the way. But I needed somebody to help me cross that line. And you did that. You helped instill confidence in me. You validated my talk. You mentioned some things that I could actively work on and implement to change to make it better. And I'm really glad I listened to your advice, by the way, because it did make the talk better. But we need this third party perspective because we simply just cannot see the holes in our own ship sometimes, right? I like to say that to people. We just can't see them. We have blind spots, and that's natural. So we hire somebody and bring them in so that they can help take us across that finish line. And ultimately, it's a total game changer, total game changer. So I'm very grateful for our time and for you helping me with that.
I appreciate you saying that. And, this also is a testament to your own character, right? Because you were open and you realized that, hey, you know what? Maybe if I get another set of eyeballs to look at this presentation, it cannot hurt, but it can potentially really, really help. And we didn't work very extensively together, but I remember there was this one line that when I listened to it, I was like, Tara, have you tried saying it like that? And you looked at it and you were like, oh my gosh, this is like amazing, right? So yes, we don't see the blind spots. And that's what I really, really love to do, to help people find the right words in the right order, because once you have that confirmation that, yes, this actually will resonate and this will land on the right ears, your confidence automatically goes up.
It really does. And it's those little tiny tweaks to a presentation and communication skills that can really, really be game changer. And again, this is, we're talking about really high stakes situations, but this could be this type of skill that we're talking about right now is an everyday skill as well. Because every single day we're negotiating something. We're using communication skills to negotiate something, to sell something, to advertise something, to market something, whether we realize it 100% or not, right? And our ability to communicate is directly proportionate to the income. Again, going back to that quote, the income that we can make in our lifetime. So this has tangible and intangible qualities to it. And the confidence is a big part of that. And the more reps you put in, the more comfortable you become. All of a sudden, the more confident you become, the more competence that goes along with it, right?
Indeed, 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 indeed. Now, here is the thing with confidence, and it goes the other way as well. Anxiety, right? Because anxiety is kind of like on the other side of confidence. They're not really directly, it's not the other side of the coin, but they are somewhat related, right? But here is the thing, and I think once people realize this, everything becomes so much easier. And that is when we are looking at confidence, we think it's something we have. And I can switch on or off my level of confidence, right? It's almost like an on-off switch. Okay, I'm not confident, switch it on, I'm confident, right? But here's the thing, confidence is not something we have. Confidence is something we do.
Mm.
And it's really a linguistic trick here that our minds are playing with us, right? Because when you look at it, confidence is a noun, and a noun is typically a thing. But there are special nouns that they aren't things, they're actually processes, right? There is a process behind it. And when you look at confidence, or on the other side, anxiety, right? People often say, oh, I have so much anxiety, right? And the way that I work with them is to make them aware that it's not something that they have. So I ask them and say, how do you do it? And just the question, how do you do it, starts to make them realize that, hey, wait a second, this is actually an internal process that's happening inside of me. And that gets you way, way quicker to the level of finding what it is that makes you confident.
Mm. So powerful and tangible, very tangible and relatable. I like that because we often think confidence is elusive. And, these semantics we're talking about, if we continually say things like, I have anxiety, right? And putting that out to the universe that we have these things. What if we said we don't have anxiety, right? What would happen? What would happen, right? If we stopped saying, I am this, I have this, and taking
Yep.
possession of the things we don't want. I think that
Yep.
happens a lot too in speaking, that people think they're not natural speakers, they're not good at speaking. How could I get better at speaking if it's my biggest fear?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
And this lack of confidence can hold people back a lot of times from even just making that first push.
Yep.
What do you think
Yep.
about that? How could somebody go from saying, I'm not confident? Again, they a lot of times own that and say, I am this, to saying, I can do this.
Again, I think the first step is to realize that there is a process behind it, right? Because when we look at the process, we realize that we can influence it. We can change steps in the process. I usually don't ask people, how do you do confidence? But I ask them, how do you do anxiety, right? And the responses that I get, and sometimes people go like, what do you mean? How do you do it, right? And I say, well, just imagine you take a day off from yourself. You take a vacation from yourself, but you have this important pitch that you need to go and perform. I'm going to step in for you, right? Now, I want to do a really, really good job at being exactly you. What do I have to do to be anxious? What do I have to do to get that anxiety level up, right? And
Wow.
then all of a sudden I get these responses. People tell me, well, the first thing that I do is I look out at the audience and I see all these big heads with these huge eyes, and they're staring at me and they're just waiting until I make a mistake. And I go like, ooh, cool. But you do realize that you make those images yourself. Now let's change them a little bit. And just the realization that we have control over these internal processes, right, is already a huge, huge step forward. Now, here is the thing. We all do these things differently inside. So there is no blanket advice that you can say, well, you just need to do this or that. And, things will change inside on a neurological level. There isn't. So it's really a question for each person to find out specifically, how do I do that? And not everybody is qualified to ask the right questions here, right? So you never get to good answers. So this is the point where I believe it helps to get help from somebody who can guide you with just a couple of questions to sort out what's going on inside between your two ears.
So true. And that's the power, again, of having a coach, right? Especially in this scenario. We just cannot see the holes in our own ship. So this is pretty powerful. And, I think back to when we were practicing together, and that was the first time you and I had ever had a conversation. So we met
Yes.
on LinkedIn, we had a
Yeah.
Zoom. You had never met me before. We had exchanged one or two direct messages, barely a lot of communication. And then I just went into it. I just went into my speech because I I was actually really glad too that you didn't know a lot about me or my story, because I wanted it to be as if you were watching my TEDx talk for the first time, which is pretty powerful. And you heard my story, you heard my speech. Why did it resonate with you so much? I'm curious.
Well, in your case, it was twofold. One was the content in itself, right? I mean, the message that you had in that TED Talk about gratitude resonated so deeply with me. As a matter of fact, I have this video that's hidden somewhere on my YouTube channel. It's unlisted, it's not public, of a practice run that I did once about how to lead a happy life. And I shared 3 tips. And my third tip in that was keep a gratitude journal. And by that, I don't mean, write a book, write the next, Gone with the Wind volume, not at all, but just every single day before you go to sleep, take out the journal and write down 3 things that you're grateful for that happened during the day. And that can be just one word or one sentence, one phrase that later on can remind you of the moment. And if you do that right before you go to sleep, right, you are actually drifting into sleep, focusing on the good stuff that has happened in your life, because we all are bombarded with negative news all day long. And it is so easy to take all of that with us into our sleep. And then we wonder why we have, problem falling asleep and why we have nightmares and whatever. So to me, it really resonated on a topical level,
Mm.
first and foremost. And then second, once I saw you perform, and to me, every presentation, every pitch is a performance, right? It's not just a pitch. It's not just, no, it's a performance that starts at the moment you walk onto the stage. And it makes a difference on how you walk onto the stage. If you want to be really, really confident, when you start your presentation, walk onto that stage and do things inside of your mind that will help you elevate that energy a little bit, and you're starting off on the right foot. So when I saw your energy bundled with the topic, I was like, this is going to be a winner. This is going to be an absolute winner. And I told you in that session, I said, don't be surprised if you get hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of views on that TED Talk. And you've got hundreds, thousands of views in even a very, very short time. So congratulations on that, Tara.
Well, and you saying that, again, helped my confidence. So when I did do the act of presenting on stage, I felt like you were there with me saying, hey, you did good once before. You just have to do it one more time and you're done. And I literally kept thinking that, just do it one more time and you're done. You don't have to think about it anymore.
Right,
But
right.
you were there kind of guiding me in spirit a little bit.
Right. Now, here is the question that has been burning on my mind actually for quite a while, because I know you had a wardrobe mishap just as you were getting ready, right? And you're cringing right now just at the memory of it. What exactly happened? And I'll ask you another question after that. But what exactly happened, just for everybody listening to us here?
Yeah, I got a wardrobe malfunction, true story, in the worst spot. Well, I guess not the worst spot because at least I wasn't dancing or twirling on stage. So thank God it was pretty much stationary. But yes, the seam of my dress in the back busted, and I had about an inch or so hole back there. And
Yeah.
it literally happened. So we had a break right before I went on. And it was a 20-minute break. And it happened then as I was trying to fumble and get myself dressed and undressed. And I have this in the back of my mind the whole time. I tried not to, but yes, it was a little deterrent. It was a little bump in the road. I tried not to think about it though, Claudio.
Let me ask you this as a follow-up. Did this have an impact on your confidence level? Either way, improve it or decrease it?
I would say as soon as I was up there, I was fine.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
the going up to it, like
Yeah.
from the moment I opened the curtain, literally opened the curtain to walk out, I was thinking about this because I was
Yeah.
thinking, there's a camera this way. What if they catch what if they catch
Yeah.
an inopportune second as I'm walking past? But I
Mhm.
tried not to focus on it too much and just walked out there. And once I was on the red dot, I was okay.
Interesting. And this is really what shows us a little bit about confidence, right? That it's so often based on what will other people say?
Right.
What do other people think
Yeah.
about me, about my dress, about the hole in my dress, and so on, right? It has nothing to do with the message that you're going to communicate. In some cases, things like this lend themselves perfectly to be leveraged, right? Because, well, take it up front and you put the emphasis on there as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's your burning question though, yes. So yeah, it was a little embarrassing. I had a friend in the audience, thankfully, and
Mhm.
I went up to her during the break. She helped me. I will say that she helped me. I went up to her during the break and I said, "Naomi, oh my gosh, I have this hole in my dress. What am I gonna do?" And she said, she said in her perfectly amazing English accent, "Darling, it's not like you're going to be twirling up there, is it?" And I said, "Well, I'm not. Thank you."
And
It was
it's
all I
those
needed
little
to hear.
reframes, right? And it's those little reframes, right? That then change our mind. And this is really what it's all about. And very often we go through life and we don't necessarily believe that we can change how we think or that we can change what's happening inside of our minds. But in fact, we can. We
Mm,
can, and we do it all the time, right? And in your case, it was prompted by somebody from the outside that shifted your mind around it a little bit, and you saw this image of you twirling around out there, and you go like, "Yep, nope, I'm not going to do that," and it lightens up the whole thing. Yep.
exactly, exactly. And that's the power of having a supportive system around you so that
Hmm.
you can, you know, lean on people that you trust during these times, right?
Yep.
But I love that. That is so amazing. And again, this is pertinent to anybody. But I especially think, professional speakers, entrepreneurs, people that are in high impact situations where they're going to be, again, there's money on the line, there's reputation, there's business growth, and definitely invest in communication skills, because it's not only how we communicate the words, that we say, it's how we say it, the inflection of our voice, how our conversation is structured as well. Is it effective? Are our storytelling techniques, do they resonate with the audience? And first off, you have to know your audience in order to craft a story and a presentation that's relevant, that resonates. So there's a lot that goes into this that I don't think a lot of people quite understand and appreciate. But the power of a effective pitch definitely involves confidence. It definitely involves a lot of practice and action, but it also involves a team, and getting this team together, people that are around you like a coach that can again help cross you to that finish line.
Indeed. Indeed.
I love that. Claudio, I have really enjoyed this conversation. I know a lot of people have gotten some really great value from this as well.
Hmm.
Besides taking action and practicing, is
Hmm.
there is there one really good tip that we could say to everybody today that they could take away, that maybe they could use in a high stakes, high impact presentation? What do you think?
My biggest tip is usually to just don't take it so seriously. Even if you bomb and you bomb big time on a TED stage, whatever it is, right? Well, it can happen and it's not the end of the world. As a matter of fact, there was this one guy. Um, he auditioned for one of these shows like, America Got Talent or something
Mhm.
like that. And he was so bad. His performance was so bad, and he never really made it to the show. But the reel from that made it to the show, and he became a small little minor celebrity based on that. So sometimes, even mishaps can lead to great things. So first and foremost, understand it's not something you have, it's something you do. And the more you practice, Nathan put in the chat here before, putting in the reps, the more reps you're putting in, the easier it becomes. And then top it off with that realization that, you are pretty much the only one that takes it that seriously. Nobody else does. If you mess up, most of the people in the audience don't even know, because they don't know what you wanted to say. So whatever you say is what you say, right? And you are the only one that actually knows and says, oh, I should have said, and I wanted to say, and oh. So
Exactly.
don't take it so tremendously serious.
Absolutely. One more thing while I have you: gratitude. That's what resonated with you the most about my speech. And we've talked about gratitude a lot in depth. And this is something that we talk about a lot on the show. Actually, our highest rated shows are about gratitude. So I would be remiss if I didn't touch on gratitude. And I will ask you one last question. Claudia, what does gratitude mean to you?
It means to have this true appreciation for things and people that enter your life, and looking at it always as something that builds the foundation for further learning. I'm often grateful for mishaps that happen in my life, because those are very often the most profound lessons that I've learned.
Love that. We can all learn from that, that's for sure. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today, Claudio. And thank you for everyone who tuned in. Don't forget to hit subscribe, follow the show, Grasp Confidence Podcast, because we are aiming to be one of the top personal development, self-improvement podcast there is, we can only do that with listener support. So like the show, leave a review, share it with your friends, and tell other people to tune in, because we bring in the best guests around the world for a reason. It's to add value to our listeners. So thank you so much for everyone who tuned in today. We will catch you on the next episode. Take care.